This is Retirement Keys with Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Anthony provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is Retirement Keys with your host, Anthony Congemi.
All right, well, welcome back to another show here at Retirement Keys. My name's Anthony Congemi with Crescent City Retirement Group. And, of course, we have our fabulous co-host, as we do every Sunday, Tony Shore. We just really couldn't do the show without him. Tony, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me on the show again, Anthony. And I really love talking to you each week. And this week, we have an amazing show. But before we get into that, I've had a really busy week. You know, we're kind of in tax time, and people are hoping that COVID is kind of behind us as people get vaccinated and we take precautions, but hopefully things will get back to normal here soon. I've been dealing with it pretty well. The weather's been a little nicer, so I've been getting outside. How about you? What have you been doing?
Well, all the same, Tony. As you say, a lot of our clients and the people that we speak to, they've all gotten their vaccine. Some are on the first shot, some are on their second shot, for those that have the two-shot booster there. And so far, so good. I think that people are feeling a lot more confident with getting the vaccine for those that are getting it. And we are just so looking forward. And as things are just getting more back to normal, I think people are, when you go out, you can see more people are going out. They're at parks. We spent some time out at the lakefront. You wouldn't believe the traffic out there, boats and people getting in and out, and even in restaurants and all. So it just seems like people are starting to loosen the belt buckle a little bit and becoming a little more comfortable. And that's good, Tony. That's not only good for our lives, but it's also good for our economy. And so I'm so happy to see that we're getting behind all that. And
that's
and of
good.
Course, a lot of the show today, we're going to be talking about the stimulus bill, and what that means for folks. And so I think this is going to be a great and timely show on the stimulus package and what all that could mean. As you know, the name of the show is What the American Rescue Plan Means for You. So I think a great show we have lined up here today for our audience.
Well, sure. And tell us a little bit more about that. Obviously, we've heard about the stimulus checks and payments that have gone out to people, but there's a lot more to it. And I know that, it's long. It's detailed. And so rolling up our sleeves and digging into some of the act's highlights, that's going to be great. So how do you want to get us rolling?
Yeah, Tony. So I'd like to start off with just really using a very recent Investopedia article that was titled American Rescue Plan, and it's the Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus package as our guide today. Now, the article begins by breaking the act down a bit. Remember, this is the third stimulus act to make its way through Congress. The first stimulus bill was $2 trillion. The second bill was for $900 billion. So you don't need to be a math whiz to know that that's a whole lot of stimulus money.
Yeah, it is.
But drastic times call for drastic measures. In addition to the direct payments, the act includes extended unemployment payments, the continuation of evictions and foreclosure moratoriums, and bumping up the child tax credit while also making it fully refundable. And finally, The act also supplies money to state and local governments to help cover lost tax revenue, money to schools to begin safely opening up kindergarten through 8th grade learning, and to subsidize COVID-19 testing and vaccination deliveries. So, there's a lot there, Tony.
Wow.
There's a lot there. Yeah. And so I think, drilling down a little bit and talking about some of these things are really very timely. And I think hopefully, our audience will get something out of the show.
Well, sure, because I think it really affects people's livelihood, and a lot of people rely on some of this. It's a lot to wrap your head around, a lot of money, and there's a lot of great information there. I'm guessing a fair number of our listeners, Anthony, are probably either parents or grandparents. So, the money the money that they say might help to schools reopen, that's more than welcome. And I'm also struck by the aid to state and local government, because it seems likely that without it, a lot of people might have been looking at local tax hikes or a cut to government services that, make our towns and cities click. But tell us a little bit more about the direct payments. And most folks probably have theirs by direct deposit if they qualified.
Sure, Tony. So the act provides $14 payments to single people making $75,000 or less annually. That figure builds on the $600 in the second stimulus to arrive at the $2,000 payments that were originally proposed. Couples with an adjusted gross income of $150,000 or less will receive the full stimulus amount. Additionally, dependents also qualify for payments. It's important to note that payments to individuals begin to shrink for incomes higher than $75,000 before vanishing completely at $80,000. And for couples, the stimulus disappears for adjusted gross incomes greater than $160,000. So depending on where your income lies, if you're a single person and you make $75,000 or less, you can be looking at a $1,400 payment. And then, of course, as I say, it builds on the $600 in the second stimulus to arrive at the $2,000 payments that were originally proposed. So, it just depends on the income there, Tony. But of course, most folks will receive this, and it's going to be helpful.
Yeah, very helpful. And I think it's a safe bet that a lot of people already understand the direct payments just because the media attention, that's what it's been talking about. But there's a lot more here. So let's dig into the rest. What can you tell us about unemployment benefits? There's some extra unemployment benefits in here as well, right?
There is, Tony. The American Rescue Plan pushes unemployment benefits of $300 weekly through September 26, 2021. Just as important, it also makes the first $10,200 of 2020 unemployment benefits tax-free for families making $150,000 or less. Additionally, if you had taxes withheld from your 2020 unemployment benefit, you'll be able to get that money back when you file your 2020 taxes. Or if you've already filed, you can get the money back with an amended tax return. So there's going to be some tax benefits and some tax favorability treatment on this unemployment benefit.
Well as the additional $300 a week on top of whatever unemployment benefits you're getting, you're going to get that extra $300 a week through September of this year. And I think that's huge for those on unemployment. Maybe they worked in the restaurant or bar industry and that restaurant or bar had to close because of COVID, or worked in the school system. And sometimes a lot of those businesses have stayed shut down. And so this is going to help those on unemployment. Now, speaking of unemployment, does the act do anything in regards to COBRA? I know that's been an area of concern for a lot of people.
Well, Tony, there's some good news on that front. The act includes 100% subsidy of COBRA health insurance premiums, so the unemployed can stay on their employer health care through the end of September. Another critical element is that the American Rescue Plan is an extension of eviction, an extension on the eviction and foreclosure moratorium. Specifically, the legislation provides $30 billion in emergency rental assistance and another $10 billion in mortgage assistance, Tony.
Wow. So we're throwing around some that's real money to you and I, Anthony. We're talking billions a here to a few billion there. I guess I can see how it adds up to I wondered how they got to the 1.9 trillion. Now, another important area is food assistance. I know the act addresses that. What details can you give us on that?
Well, Tony, it includes $510 million for FEMA's emergency food and program, which will be used to offer overnight shelter, meals, a month's rent or mortgage assistance, and a month's worth of utility payments. It also provides additional emergency nutrition assistance to folks on food stamps, including a 15% jump in benefits that will now last through the end of September, rather than the original expiration date of June 30th. The legislation also provides $5 billion to the pandemic EBT program, which supplies school children with the emergency nutrition benefits. Additionally, that money will provide $800 million in funding to the WIC program for low-income women and infants.
Wow. That's a lot of numbers right there. And I'm sure, though, it represents a grateful segment of people. And this has been a great show today so far, Anthony, but let's take a quick break. Is there anything you want to add before the break?
Well, I'd just like to thank you all for joining Retirement Keys on Sunday morning. We really work hard to bring to you the most factual information as it relates to retirement planning, the economy, all of the things that you would concern yourself with as it relates to the future in retirement. And really, that's our objective for the show. But I would encourage you, if you're tuning in and you say, I'd like to see what my personal economy looks like or my personal retirement plan looks like, by all means, we offer a complimentary consultation to really put that plan in place for you. You've heard us say that we believe there's 5 key elements to any sound plan: estate and legacy planning, healthcare planning, an investment strategy, income planning, and of course, taxes. And so I would just encourage you, if you'd like to get that second opinion, take advantage of this special offer.
You've been listening to our shows and advice on getting your finances in order and creating a retirement income plan that will last. Now is the time to take advantage of our special offer. This is Anthony Congemi of Crescent City Retirement Group, and we're now offering a complimentary gourmet dinner and retirement planning workshop, the 5 keys to a stress-free retirement. This is one workshop you won't want to miss. Call in the next 20 minutes for this no-cost offer. Seating is limited. Call Crescent City Retirement Group within the next 20 minutes at 504-828-2171. That number again is 504-828-2171.
And welcome back to Retirement Keys. I'm your co-host, Tony Shore, and I'm here with our host, Anthony Congemi from Crescent City Retirement. And Anthony, you've been talking about the recently passed, they call it the American Rescue Plan. It's the new stimulus package, $1.9 trillion. That's a lot of money, and we're talking about where that's going and how that might help some folks. And you definitely hit some high points, but I also know there's a lot of critical information left to talk about here. So what do you have next for us?
Tony, the Investopedia article, the article American Rescue Plan that we discussed, next addresses the expanded child tax credit. Clearly, if you have kids of your own, this is a really big deal. The legislation provides $3,000 yearly payments for each child between the age of 6 and 17, and for $3,600 for each child under the age of 6 for couples who make $150,000 or less, and for single parents who make $112,500 or less annually. Payments would be delivered through the direct deposit each month. If you have a child under 6, you'll receive $300 per month. If you have a child between 6 and 17, you'll get the $250 a month. So, Tony, another benefit here of a supplement for these folks that have kids within this age group.
Wow. Okay. I mean, for a lot of families, that extra bit of money each month is really going to help buy groceries and sneakers and jeans and all the things that kids need. Does the legislation say anything about college students?
Well, Tony, the news on that front isn't quite as good. Unfortunately, while the plan doesn't directly include student loan forgiveness, it does contain a provision that any student loan forgiveness legislation passed between December 30th, 2020 and January 1st, 2026 will be tax-free. Remember, loan forgiveness is generally taxable income. Let's stick to the education theme a bit longer, but go back to benefits for younger students. The American Rescue Plan provides $130 billion for kindergarten through 12th. Specifically, the money is earmarked to reduce class size, improve ventilation, purchase personal protective equipment, and to fund additional steps that will help schools reopen. So a lot of money there too, Tony.
Yeah, I would say so. Wow. A lot of numbers, and there's a lot of money going out there. And let's hope it helps people as much as it's intended to, so we can get through this. And but when you talk about schools reopening, I mean, you probably heard an audible sigh of relief from some of the parents listening right now, right?
Oh, I would think so, Tony. I should also mention the plan provides $40 billion for colleges and universities to supply emergency financial aid grants to students. An additional $40 billion will find its way to child care providers via the Child Care and Development Block Grant Program. And lastly, the plan includes $1 billion to the Head Start program. And I would just say, Tony, if you're listening to the show, and, you're trying to take all this down, but of course you're probably driving because, you're, let's say you're in the car and you're listening to the show. Let me just say this to you. Please give our office a call, because we want to make sure that any benefits that you have coming to you, if you meet any of the criteria that we're laying out, we want to make sure that you're clear on what is available to you, so then you can apply. And a lot of times what you find is people, would normally have been able to apply or receive benefits and just wasn't aware of it,
right,
if you will.
Right.
So please, by all means, don't feel like you have to take all this down. I mean, I think at the end of the day, everybody's situation, of course, is different, and not everybody's going to apply, be able to qualify for the same benefits as, let's say, your neighbor or person across the street. But we want to make sure that the benefits that you do have coming, that you know about. And so, and that's really what we want to offer. So if you're listening to this program, by all means, call our office at 504-828-2171. And by all means, let us get you a list of those benefits so we can make sure that you know exactly what's out there for you.
Sure. And what a lot of great information. And so now we're going to move into another aspect. I wanted to ask you, because you work with a lot of businesses out there and a lot of small business owners and business people. What does this legislation do for businesses?
Well, Tony, thank you for asking that. It establishes a new program for restaurants and bars that dedicates as much as $25 billion in pandemic assistance grants. Specifically, these grants can funnel as much as $10 million per company, with a cap of $5 million per fiscal location and can be used to handle payroll and rent and utilities and other expenses. The Paycheck Protection Program will receive an additional $7.25 billion, and nonprofits will now be permitted to apply for the forgivable loans to help them meet payroll and other operating expenses. So a lot of help out here, Tony, for these businesses.
Wow. There sure is. Now, we've talked about a lot regarding where the money is going, but I'm really curious about, is some of the money also going to be used to address the pandemic itself, like through vaccinations and testing?
Yeah, Tony, roughly $50 billion from the American Rescue Plan will be used to cover additional COVID-19 testing and contact tracing. $19 billion will be dedicated to increasing the size of the public health workforce, and about $16 billion will help cover vaccine distributions and supply chains.
Wow. Okay. So, and I think it's interesting when you talk about this. That's good news. And I've read articles about the growing concern that local governments and school districts are having about meeting their financial obligations because of the smaller revenue they've experienced in the last year during the pandemic. Does the legislation talk anything about those concerns?
Well, I think revenue deadlines are a very real worry. In fact, the article highlights a Washington Post study that found 26 states saw revenue declines between December of 2019 and 2020. The plan contains $350 billion in aid to states, cities, tribal governments, and U.S. territories designed to fill the gap left behind by the lost tax revenue and the pandemic that the pandemic has caused.
Well, I think so too. I would agree, but yeah, it got left out of the bill. They removed that. Now, the arrival of vaccines and now the passage of this huge stimulus package, I bet it has a lot of people out there feeling more optimistic that maybe a return to normal life might not be too far off, right?
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. You know, I mean, when you think about it, it looks like this bill has covered every aspect from testing to schools to income to support.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on as we've outlined. And so, you would think that it would, bring about a strong sense of we are getting past this and we can put it behind us as we move forward. And, hopefully in the next 6 months, Tony, to a year, this will just be a part of our memory and part of our history.
Yeah.
And we can really move forward on this thing, Tony.
Yeah, your lips to God's ear, right? I mean,
yes, sir.
Let's
Absolutely.
hope that within the next 6 months, we could be well on our way back to things back to fairly, relatively normal, I should say. It's before we end the show, that's exciting that you've moved. And how far away from the old offices are you?
Well, not far, Tony, but we're in a more central location. Our main office was in Kenner, off of Veterans Highway, real close to Williams Boulevard. Now we're right on Causeway, which is in Metairie, which is a much more central to New Orleans, to the North Shore, to the West Bank. So we just in a beautiful offices. We're feeling so blessed to have the location that we have. And I would just encourage all of our listeners to really, take advantage of our services. We really do strive to be your premier retirement partner here in South Louisiana. And so if you've been listening to the show and you'd like to come visit us, if you'd like to get a second opinion on your retirement plan, as you mentioned, Tony, tax planning and tax strategies, going forward, I think are very important to be thinking about, because with all of the money that's being spent, obviously, and I know a lot of you that have been listening to all of the different, the funds and where it's all going. Certainly in the back of your mind, you could be thinking, well, gee, this is a lot of money, and ultimately tax rates probably will go up. So if that's the case, why not even incorporate some tax planning and tax strategies inside of your retirement plan? I think that's just very wise.
Yeah, so important.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, you know what? Great show and some great advice, Anthony, but we're out of time. One more time, let our listeners know that phone number they can call to set up that no-cost consultation.
Absolutely. It's 504-828-2171. Just give our office a call or go to crescentcityretirement.com. You can schedule a consultation there. We can visit by phone. We could meet in a Zoom meeting, or you can just come to the office, whatever's convenient for you. But we want to offer you that second opinion. So thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you again next week, same time.
All right, and that does it for today's episode of Retirement Keys with our host, Anthony Congemi. Thank you for listening to Retirement Keys. Don't pay too much for taxes or retire without a sound income plan. For more information, please contact Anthony Congemi at Crescent City Retirement Group. Call 504-828-2171 or visit the website at crescentcityretirement.com. All matters discussed during this show are for informational purposes only. Each individual situation may vary, and the opinions expressed here may not apply to everyone. Materials presented are believed to be from reliable sources, and no representations can be made as to its accuracy. All ideas and information should be discussed in detail with one of our qualified representatives prior to implementation. Anthony Congemi and Crescent City Retirement Group are not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency.